General, basically you're reporting about everything, are you?
Almost everything.
Almost everything. So you're all-rounder, I must say.
Yeah. Wet and dry.
Wet and dry. Thank you for joining us, Azarami.
Thank you.
So tonight is going to be a very interesting topic, and we're going to have a news clip right now, and we'll refresh our memories for our viewers of what happened for the ASEAN-US leaders meeting in the United States. So let's take a look at the video.
Haji Hassan al-Bolkiah Muizzuddin wa Daulah Ibni Almarhum Sultan Haji Umar Ali Saifuddin Sa'adul Khairuddin Sultan in Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam in a tita said that it would continue to be in the interest of ASEAN and United States of America to continue working together to bolster more economic opportunities and in facing common challenges in areas such as transnational crime, the environment, on climate change, health pandemics and natural disasters. His Majesty made the tita at the second ASEAN-US meeting held at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York. The meeting was co-chaired by the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, His Excellency Nguyen Minh Triet as chair of ASEAN, and the President of the United States of America, His Excellency President Barack Obama. In the tita, His Majesty thanked His Excellency President Barack Obama on his initiative to invite ASEAN leaders for the meeting to discuss ways of enhancing ASEAN-US relations. This shows a new level of commitment that the United States places on the ASEAN region. His Majesty in the tita also expressed appreciation to US businesses, and particularly through the US-ASEAN Business Council, for its effectiveness in enhancing ASEAN's visibility amongst US companies and lawmakers. The US renewed interest for economic engagement not only with ASEAN but also through the Trans-Pacific Partnership reflects a growing commitment to establish a stronger foundation in the wider Asia-Pacific region. His Majesty also hopes to see greater development in people-to-people relationships and friendships, such as through education and student exchanges between learning institutions of ASEAN and the United States and through scholarships. Such exchanges would enable a better understanding of each other's cultures and reinforce bilateral connections even further. His Majesty also touched on working together in areas where ASEAN can learn from the United States, such as in the area of forest conservation. His Majesty the Sultan in Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam in the tita reiterated that ASEAN remains resolute in its partnership with the United States. His Majesty appreciates that the United States has expressed its interest in joining the East Asia Summit, as this will only enrich discussions on the peace, stability and development of East Asia and would further strengthen dialogue and cooperation.
Now, His Majesty stressed some key points in the meeting, namely the importance of creating better economic opportunities together and better cooperation in the most challenging areas such as transnational crime, the environmental protection, natural disasters and health pandemic control. Now, these are indeed becoming major concerns of all ASEAN nations. Now, don't you agree, Aslin?
Yes, I do totally agree. Because at the moment, due to globalization and all that, and of course crime right now is international, it's across borders, for example drug trafficking, human trafficking, so these kind of things is actually become borderless. So His Majesty there has put forward where we try to be like the European Union, where we should be borderless, we should be cooperating with each other, not blocking each other whenever things like this happen.
When he said about borderless, do you agree with the topic too, Tony?
Yes, it's a very relevant topic. Very relevant issue.
Okay. Let us introduce to our audiences the background first of this particular meeting a little bit. Now, the ASEAN-US leaders meeting was first inaugurated in Singapore in August 15th of 2009, if I'm not mistaken, Aslin. Am I right? 2009?
Yes, that's right.
Following the APEC high-level summit. Now, in that particular meeting, leaders released a joint statement on enhanced partnership for enduring peace and prosperity. Now, the statement also included 28 major points focusing on economic, the trade, and political strategic cooperation. Now, first, the ASEAN-US meeting was also historic in the sense that it was the very first time ever the US leadership actually met with all 10 ASEAN nations, including Myanmar's Prime Minister, Thein Sein, with the hope to conduct direct talks with the Myanmar authorities. Now, I think that alone speaks some volume here. ASEAN leaders indeed played a very important role in bringing the US and Myanmar together for a talk. Do you see it that way, Azaraimi?
Oh, thank you. I'd like to correct you there, Frankie. The 10 ASEAN leaders, only actually 9. Because one of them is missing, presented by the Vice President, Indonesian President Yudhoyono was not in the meeting.
Myanmar is calling for elections, and there are talks that Suki will be released shortly after the elections. So it's about time. the U.S. Coming to support ASEAN on the issue is
it's appropriate time, the right
perfect
particular
timing.
timing. How about Azlin?
I think what the US is trying to do is they're trying to push the ASEAN countries actually, because if it was to come in force, without anyone's backing or approval, they'll just be, standing outside the gates of ASEAN. But now with our cooperation, of course, as you all know, historically that ASEAN did once, did not communicate with Myanmar over a time because of Suki's home imprisonment. So now with the elections coming on, the US is of course wanting the backing of ASEAN itself to make changes in Myanmar.
Okay. And the second meeting also became very historic in a similar way, in the sense that it was the first ever high-level meeting that was co-chaired by US and Vietnam since the Vietnam War. What do you think that this indicates, Tony?
Vietnam and the ASEAN supports bilateral and multilateral relations with the US.
And do you think that it's a true meaning of partnership where this past will really, they put the really past behind them as a Raimi?
I think naturally those, should go on with the...
They should forget about what has happened.
What happened in the past, and with a lot of regional meeting happening in the world, and with the ASEAN, US.
Okay. How about Azlin?
Yeah, again, I agree with Mr. Rami. Because I've been to Vietnam in May recently, and at the moment they're building their infrastructure. So they're too busy, to be too angry with the Americans. Anyway, it's been such a long time ago, so they need all the help they can get to rebuild the infrastructure there.
And I believe Brunei has always been a very respectful member of all the ASEAN groupings, such as ASEAN, APEC, and so on, with our active involvement and supportive attitude. Now, we have gained even more respect and attention with our concerns towards mutual areas such as transnational crime, environment, climate change, and regional health pandemics. Now, I think that is the reason why our voice is often heard more than others. What is your opinion on this, Tony? I think we're doing a fantastic job here, don't you think?
Yes, as His Majesty said, we are going to a new level of commitment.
When he say a new level of commitment, what do you understand by that?
Maybe Brunei is being more active on other issues involving ASEAN.
What kind of issues are we talking about here?
The climate change, for example, which is affecting everybody, and then transnational crime is because Brunei has a very porous border. We are surrounded by, so people can easily transit from Brunei to other places.
Okay, as a Raimi, what's your take
on the transnational crime, particularly for Brunei, is not isolated in this case. So, especially with the advent of the internet, transnational crimes are even more active. For example, we've seen our local involved in drug mule activities. So, His Majesty's interest on the improvement in transnational crime, cooperation, mitigation.
Okay, Azlin.
Yeah, besides transactional crime, Brunei has also invested a lot in ASEAN. Besides, giving out money, myself as a trainer sent to CLMV countries to train the civil service there. So Brunei has actually quite a huge stake in ASEAN. And of course, I think it's high time that we are finally to be recognized in ASEAN.
A lot of people think that Brunei is a small country and we have never been given enough attention for that matter, right?
Yes, that's right.
Now, as we have briefly touched on earlier, the US is an important economic partner of ASEAN. Bilateral trade between ASEAN and the US has reached more than, get this, $200 billion a year. Now, ASEAN is now the US 5th largest trade partner and 4th largest export market, with the promise of US investments pouring into this region soon. Perhaps all these numbers will increase further, and perhaps that will also increase our chances of drawing more FDI to our country from the US. Don't you think so?
Yes, I should think so. But again, this is another maneuvering by the U.S. because remember the economic downturn, 2008, 2009. So right now the U.S. are looking for market so that they can increase the jobs. That's why they're increasing the exports to ASEAN. As you mentioned before, that we are now currently ranked, top 5 in exports, just exports and not yet imports.
All right, discussion is heating up, so don't go away because we will be right back and you're watching Review. Welcome back. You're still with me, Frankie, on Review. We're talking about the ASEAN-US leaders meeting that took place recently in the United States, appointed by His Majesty, being attended by His Majesty the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam, together with the other leaders, including US President Barack Obama. The meeting, of course, successfully concluded its second meeting in the US. And joining me in the studio once again, we have, of course, Azlin, Tony, and Azurami. Thank you for joining us once again, gentlemen. Now, we are saying early on that it's rather important for a country like Brunei, small in size, but wealthy in resources, to team up with its neighbours to seek economic development. ASEAN itself is a great platform for Brunei. So let's take a look at the background of this regional grouping, shall we? Now, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, was first established back in 1967, with 5 countries jointly signing the ASEAN Declaration, also known as the Bangkok Declaration. The 5 countries, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, and Indonesia, were represented by their foreign ministers. And ASEAN was actually preceded by ASA, which is the Association of Southeast Asia. Brunei Darussalam, our home country, joined the organization as the 6th member of ASEAN on the 8th of January 1984, barely 8 days after our Independence Day. And since then, Brunei has been an active member of ASEAN. Now, can you tell us more about the importance of being a member of ASEAN? Tony, you've seen a lot. You've been here for about 20 years. And what have you seen so far?
ASEAN is a big market. It has 776 million people. So for the U.S., exports to ASEAN will support a lot of jobs. ASEAN prosperity is also attracting the U.S. Because right now China is a growing power economically. So the U.S. is not just focusing its eyes on China and Japan. The U.S. ASEAN also because of its political stability and the economic prosperity.
What do you think of the importance of ASEAN as a member of ASEAN?
For Brunei membership too. Brunei is a very small country, as you said. We have a very limited market. And having a regional member of regional grouping, especially for ASEAN's going through free trade market area, and so it's really important for Brunei to be part of the ASEAN. And for the US, ASEAN more and more as a grouping to maybe perhaps maintain their primacy, especially with the rise of China as the remaining superpower in the region, and as a political cushion to soften any
Now, after hearing from them, from Tony and Azurami, what would you like to add on?
I think that for one, Brunei joining such a now a recognized organization worldwide, we have a voice, so that if we have any grievances, for example, I don't know, about Palestine or anything, we can voice it out, not only in ASEAN, but I think we've done it before in the UN. So of course, that's one of the advantages. The second, probably next advantage is, of course, being politically stable not only brings prosperity into the region, but of course Brunei is safe. We want the area to be safe. We don't want wars. We want to grow. So of course this is the time where joining the group as a region, we can grow during this stability.
Well, the ASEAN has been formed since 43 years ago, and do you think that it is appropriate to have more members, maybe?
Yes, I should think so. I think a lot of other Asian countries are trying to join in, but I'm not the one who's doing the selecting here. But I believe that more will join. Yeah,
it's rather important in the areas such as funding terrorism, transnational crime. Now, in the second ASEAN-US leaders meeting, leaders also mentioned that the cooperation will be lifted to a new height. So, what do you expect from that particular cooperation, Tony?
especially now on the Myanmar issue. Before, ASEAN countries doesn't bother to get involved in internal politics of Myanmar. But now we can see that because of ASEAN, they have a new election, and then they'll be freeing their most high-profile political prisoner.
So what do you expect from all this at the end of the day?
So we're seeing results, and maybe from the political issue we can go to other economic and other issues.
Azaraimi.
Well, yeah, I also believe that Myanmar, I mean, of the U.S. involvement in negotiating and in the negotiations of Myanmar is.
Now, so how about you, Azlin? What do you expect from this cooperation, which is going to hopefully will be lifted to a new height, it says here?
Okay, so earlier on we talked about transnational crime. Now, of course, terrorism wasn't mentioned, but just imagine if ASEAN together, that there were, as I said, there would be no borders. So if there was any insurgencies, or if there were people thinking of planning of terrorism, the US have heard about it. They can just easily come to ASEAN and say, we need information about this. And since they're now, in relations with us, of course they can easily get that information. So I think this is what the new rising of this level, that's from my point of view. So it's actually a win situation for both US and ASEAN, because of course we don't want to be the harbor of terrorists, and the US of course doesn't want to be the victim of terrorism.
So do you think this is more like an understanding among each other?
Yes, I believe so.
Now, as we have said earlier, US is indeed an important partner for ASEAN to develop further. But that said, ASEAN is also one of the key strategic partners of the US now, considering its interests in this region, in ASEAN, of course, and the region itself becoming the fastest growing part of the world. Now, the chairman of the US ASEAN Business Council, Alexander Feldman, agreed in his speech in the second ASEAN-US meeting that during these hard economic times, he said, the US needed to explore new avenues to expand its market and to generate employment. So, Tony, what does that mean to you personally? How do you understand that particular statement?
America needs ASEAN because their economy is suffering. Now China is growing richer. So America used to be number one.
Superpower.
Now, superpower. Now there's a competition. We get the attention.
Do you think it's a good on the longer term for us?
Yes, finally. We're a big market for America, and before they were good spenders. Now,
Azaraimi, your take?
Well, we can see that how important ASEAN to the US. Even in the US is pushing membership for their coming East Asia Summit, and from that we can see how important ASEAN is to US.
In what sense do you think they are stronger? ASEAN.
ASEAN is, you can see this in the threshold of many regional groupings. They are part of the ASEAN +3 and ASEAN Europe. So ASEAN in that sense becomes stronger as a market and as a political entity. So the US will like to have its influence over the ASEAN.
Now, I understand Mr. Feldman also did say that during these hard times, the US really depend on ASEAN now. What do you understand from that?
Well, he said it right there. He's really dependent on us because the US, they've been hit by a number of blows. I mean, natural disasters, the economy is down, so public opinion right now of Barack Obama is shifting. So they're looking to an area where there's political stability. ASEAN, right now, we're not really hit by the economical downturn because, as I said before, we are growing. We're currently growing. So when a group of countries are actually growing, they're definitely going to get some money market, and also we're going to bring in investments from other countries. So as I mentioned earlier on, the US is just trying to get a slice of the pie.
Do you think it is, of course, Mr. Obama's idea to have all this at this particular time during his reign?
Well, I'm actually a fan of his. I hope he really is sincere about promoting friendship, because I think that's what really boils down to we should have good relationships. I mean, it doesn't matter if America is a superpower or not. It's because they have so many entanglements with other nations that that's why they have a voice, a big voice. But if we can actually influence them, you know, be it through our relationship or maybe during the leaders' meeting, we can somehow, you know, bring our voices being heard to the Americans, and probably they can, you know, do something about things that we don't like.
Okay. Now, what do you agree about it? Do you think Mr. Obama will play a very important role in this particular time?
Of course, economic issue in the U.S. is a very big issue. Election in the U.S. is coming soon in November, and he will be hit on the on the economic issue. He promises jobs, and Americans are saying, "Where are the jobs?"
Okay. How about you, Azhar Raimi?
Well, I was just relieved that the U.S. administration, Obama, is moving from just a mere rhetoric to a concrete, you know, concrete activities. I mean, with they're moving towards a more strategic level now. Especially, it's just a relief actually, because especially so when bilateral and political relations with ASEAN is being damaged by his predecessors in the past. So it's just a relief to see Obama is keeping his promise.
You guys are in the media, and I understand what is ASEAN's reaction when Mr. Obama took office? What was the reaction by most people?
Actually, Obama, yeah. I mean, no doubt Obama has a very strong fan base, including one of our panel here.
From ASEAN.
So, yeah. So his influence will be, it will be, you know, but most people will still in a wait-and-see game in those aspects.
Tony, what do you think? What was ASEAN's reaction when Mr. Obama took office?
Well, there's a new hope.
New ray of hope.
Yeah, that's why he's withdrawing from the war and doing all what he has promised. Now it's the issue of economics that's hitting him. So that's where he needs ASEAN very much.
Do you think that Mr. Obama has to clean up all the mess from, well, maybe the certain mess that we are talking about?
Yes, if you're referring to the oil spill, yes, that too. So not only the economy, the oil spill that he's thinking of, but I really think that President Barack Obama is being sincere, because I hear he's planning a visit to Korea, Japan, and Indonesia in November. I know Jeremy is actually hoping that it doesn't get postponed, but this shows the level of commitment, because he knows, you know, at the moment there's territorial disputes between Japan and China, so he's probably going there to ease tidings over. Korea is also probably having issues with China, so he's visiting there. And of course he's going to Indonesia, because Indonesia was not a big fan of previous presidents in America. So he's going to be there to show that, okay, the U.S., we're friendly, no, we don't want to go to war, we're looking for, you know, relationships.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you have noticed that while the first ASEAN-U.S. leaders meeting just a year ago dominated by the talks on fighting terrorism, this meeting didn't stress on that at all. I mean, that means the social security and order in this region is truly improved. Now, I think this can actually inspire other places in the world. Do you agree on that? Because the world sometimes can be a mess sometimes. And do you think that, you know, it will inspire other places, other countries?
Yes, I still remember the uproar that, you know, during the 9/11, they found out that some of those people involved were actually from one of our neighboring countries. And, I mean, U.S. resentment was skyrocket all the way, because people were blaming ASEAN, you know, for building terrorists.
Terrorist hub.
Yes, that's why I think Barack Obama, you know, is very smart, he's clever. Don't mention terrorism. Because if you mention that, you know, people are going to say that the U.S. are blaming us. So here the U.S. are, you know, they're not blaming anyone. They're coming in. They want political stability, to relationship all around to be strengthened. And of course, at the meantime, you know, in sideline talks, they're probably looking for these terrorist cells that are probably here in ASEAN, and of course quietly trying to, you know, together with other ASEAN countries, remove them.
In this time around, they're moving on from the issue of terrorism, because it's better to left it in the past and to move on to other more urgent issues like economy and bilateral relations, because to to readdress issues on terrorism is only to serve the purpose of terrorism, to enlighten, to invigorate them further.
There's only so long that Mr. Obama can do. There's so much he can do. And you think that he can actually hold on to office again and improve more relations with the world?
Well, I really do hope so. That's why if he manages to clean up some of the oil spill and also the economy, of course people are going to vote for him, because so far the US resentment has really gone down, especially in ASEAN.
Whoever would take this particular position next time of his, do you think it would be a very easy role for them?
Well, the issues are still there. Obama is there for a very short time to solve everything.
How about you, Azaraimi?
Well, they still left some issues unresolved. For example, the just a case in point, China's claim recently introduced the U-shaped map that actually incorporate ring over the Southeast Asian, and it's very difficult for the